Shut up, no man. He's a fucking idiot or what? You think the system just exists without individuals or individuals without, or the system is something that is living on its own? Are the people them were involved in that rich white man them were have the business run the music industry, the film industry, the whole of them are the system. It's kind of retard you be boom Donovan, but you know no sense, man.
7. Capital punishment
Good
narrowed
evening.
by the educator.
Good night. Good morning. Good afternoon. Yes, this is the man from Buzzwalk, JahBunny, better known as the Badass. And over the years, the channel has been going, and the people have been requesting, and people have been calling, and have been requesting for me to tell different aspect of my journey. Keep in mind, as a runaway slave, this station is not a police station. It is a revolutionary station based upon black values and black principles. Now, I want you to keep in mind that this is not a tell-all program. So I'm not here renouncing or telling on anybody. So I must be mindful. Experience of taught I that all my brethren them that try to write a book die before their book publish. Now I decided to do my chronic live and direct. I'm not here renouncing any system. My program as an educator now is to guide and give youth enough information so as they don't make the same mistake that I make. So I'm not going to be here talking about people and jeopardize anybody. As it stands, a lot of people know who I am, and a lot of people know a lot of things about I that they can come public and say. They won't for their own reason. And I'm not going to provoke anyone to dig up any dirt. Like I said, nobody knows no secret, and there's no shame in my game. If you no mash me can, me nah yarn. Now, people have been making requests for me to tell story about different things. And it's not like I don't know about things, but this is not a jukebox. So I don't want a man come punch me like me a jukebox. Like me just there to just tell out everybody business. This is not the program. As it stands, I am reading Death Row. I am reading Death Row, and as I say, I have been wanting to do this for the longest. The Vibes Cartel case is what prompted me today to be doing this book reading. Because as it stands right now, a lot of people is enjoying this book. Eventually, you might go to Amazon and order it for yourself. But I am making sure that those who have time will take time to listen. Somebody else reading it for you. This is how technology now have bring us to a point where we can do these things. As I divulge in the book, it will prompt me, and when it prompts me, it will trigger off other memories, and I will deal with it accordingly. So I want you all to bear with me and watch the ride on the floor, the flow. Now, I'm about to change the approach. 25 years ago, my brethren, Massive Tony, Massive and Broad, had tried to get me to do the Sidewalk University because of the things them that I was telling him 25 years ago. And I spoke with him this morning, and the vibes come back that I think it's about time now that the Sidewalk University come of age. I did lesson 1 for yesterday, the rudiment of the Badlands. And that was to let these young people know how the game is played. So if you're a team player and you get caught, then you know how the game is played. Now, I have always been a team player all my life. I've always in a pack, but I always function as 3. I was a part of a IT team because if you know what I'm saying, I'm just giving it to you real. You got fields in the field, and you got in the field team. So you have the hot stepper, the wild bunch, the raiders. But within these different groups of steppers, you have teams. So like Kappa Maloney and Broom, Big One, Dongle Lion, Big Ass was a team. At one stage, it was I, Sack, Blacker, Starkey, Leper. But how it worked, one man Three is always a team. So one man get tech, one more man step up. That's a team. Now, today, I am not only the oldest at stepper alive, but I'm also a part of the oldest team. Now, if you know my history, then you know say me have two more spotter. Now I'm gonna tell you them name. Now I'm gonna expose them. But those of you that know that badass is a team. Treat the hard way. We always treat the hard way. And the three of us from Treat the Hard Way today is still alive. The three of us is over 70 years old. All three of us. All three of us have been stepping from a tender age. Yeah. I and the Dan and Fire, three of us have been stepping for over 55 years as a team. Never tell on each other. Get banged up a yard and get banged up a foreign. Never tell on each other. So we are still a team today. I think that's why people so nervous when it comes to deal with I. Because them know me always have a team. Wherever me step, me have a team on the ground down that yard right now. Me have a team America. Me have a team here. Me have a team Africa. Anywhere I go, there's a team waiting for me to come and disperse instruction wherever I go. This is how the game play. Our team cannot be taken based upon what I said in my last broadcast. I don't know nobody. If I got taken right now, I don't know nobody. The only thing when you get taken, you're supposed to give name and date of birth. That's it. Argument done. And it's for whosoever take you to prove why they take you. So I'm going to continue to read Death Row because I'm a person that like to actually finish what I start. So I'm not going to start reading and stop now because I'm bored. Never, badass never get bored yet. So, Death Row by Maria Hector. Capital Punishment. Narrated by JahBunny, better known as the Badass. As you know, before I start, my voice and remember I catch a little draft sometime last week. Chest still a rockle. So bear with I. Cause this thing real and live. And tomorrow wait for no one. Tomorrow promise to no one. So whatever I got to do today, I'm doing it. Capital punishment. It is to be remembered that the white man brought hanging to Jamaica. No sooner had Christopher Columbus and his band of cutthroat arrived on the island than they began hanging the hour walk. With this gruesome practice, they brought the accompanying psychological justification for such killing. Neither the concept of hanging nor the psychological justification was original to these colonists. They had inherited from their ancestors. The fact is that somewhere along the line of his evolution, Homo spacemen designed the notion of killing one man because that man had killed another. Fundamental to the development of hanging is the notion of revenge. An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. It was not until the Middle Age that the colonists' ancestor attached the fine principle of hanging as a deterrent. They stopped calling it hanging then and emphasized it capital punishment. Since then, the whole notion of capital punishment being applied as a deterrent has been straightened out, polished, and promulgated as a theory of punishment, which is crucial to social control. Today, it is written in our laws and frequently pronounced by the apologists of premeditated murders. Yet, even though this form of punishment has become institutionalized in many countries, and after thousands have been sacrificed on the public altar of social security, the apologists of this cannibal fisco are yet to inject into its philosophical justification the logic and rationality that would render it palatable to the conscience of men, not blindly motivated by panic and revenge. Jeremy Bentham remained the most equivalent spokesman of the deterrent theory, that is the centerpiece of the psychological justification of capital punishment according to him. General prevention ought to be the chief end of punishment, as it is real justification. If we would consider an offense which has been committed as an isolated fact, the like of which would never return punishment, would be useless. It would only be adding one evil to another. But when we consider that an unpunished crime leaves the path of crime open not only to the same delinquent, but also to those who may have the same motive and opportunity for entering upon it, we perceive that punishment inflict on the individual becomes a source of security to all. That punishment, which consider in itself appear base and repugnant to all generous sentiment, is evaluated to the first rank of benefit when it is regarded not as an act of wrath or vengeance against the quiet or unfortunate individual who has given way to mischievous inclination, but as an indispensable sacrifice to the common safety. For a century, organized society have been hanging people for various offense. A couple of centuries ago in our mother country, more than 150 crimes attract capital punishment. Today, the spectre of execution is reserved almost exclusively for murder or treason. All these hanging our record as an indispensable sacrifice to the common safety. But of these thousands and thousands of people hung preventing more people from committing murder. Does the occurrence of an execution give you the assurance that because people fear similar punishment, instance of murder will cease? Frankly, it does not. And the lie of its psychological justification become more apparent on further scrutiny. Capital punishment, the prospect of death and the gallows, is a thought that sends a chill up the spine of every person who would think premeditate murder. It could be shown and argue that capital punishment does deter people from premeditating murder, but such a line falls flat in the face of overwhelming evidence that those who behave brutally are not deterred by capital punishment, and that the majority of all murderers were not premeditated. Of all the people I met on the road, I knew only two who planned to take a life. The act is in the majority of cases a spontaneous expression of anger of a moment and premeditatable and unplanned, even supposing capital punishment did deter 5% of would-be murderers. What about that 95 undeterred? Why they were not deterred is a good question here. Why was it that when Samuel Reed came upon his woman burning his life saving, he was not deterred by fear of the gallows from fatally wounding her? Why did not the chilling fear of the gallows deter Clifford Gray from fatally stabbing another youth in the heat of a fight? No answer. The simple reason, however, is that 95% of all murderers are committed in the heat of the moment and are not premeditated. The paradox: man is capable of as much good as evil, and the record of man's destruction of his fellow men cover every approach of his historical development. Yet few men compound wrap notion of greed, envy, hatred, and even love into the act of premeditated murder of a fellow man at a person to person level. Intellectually, four specific and principal objectives can be formally advanced against capital punishment. 1. To hang a man in cold blood is a barbarous survival from a more cruel age. To premeditate kill a prisoner in accordance with an architect ritual is an act which ought not to be perpetrated on any person. Whatever the crime, as such behavior run counter to and fall below the standard of conduct which our respect for human being in general requires. 2. Capital punishment preclude, represent, and ramification on the part of the offenders. When Babylon hang an offender, it is despairing of every turning such as offender into a law. Abiding citizen, but is willing to sacrifice these objectives for the action of revenge, emphasized as deterrent. 3. Once capital punishment is carried out, there is no way of correcting error. 4. There is a different undesirable social effect of this form of punishment on the general community. Execution arouse morbid curiosity, ambiguous sensationalism, and faster sadistic tendency among those closely associated with the practice that spill over to affect the community in a negative way. People have come from Montego Bay and the United States wanting to see executions, and goon liquor up themselves and look forward with grateful anticipation to hanging. All these arguments are logical, but 5% not conclusive. If capital punishment could be proven an effective deterrent, if there was not that very significant 95 undeterred, these objections would be mollified pricelessly because we cannot get around the 95% undeterred, and because capital punishment are logical and forceful, this is one line of objection. There's another line of objection, and that is not intellectual. A line of objection based on the raw reality of capital punishment as observed from a cell and death row. The bizarre proceeding began 7 days before the scheduled date of execution. The sacrifice to be is handcuffed and dragged away to the death squad and dragged away by the death squad to the condemned cell. That's where I used to work over, I call it Gallas Yard, but that's where you find the condemned cell over Gallas Yard. Located not 30 feet from the gallows. Until he is hung, it is a policy of Babylon that the sacrifice to be is made to suffer by the most thorough and systematic torture. First, they demand a list of the victim's favorite food every day until they are hung him. They will spend hundreds of dollars to provide the very best in food: turkey, steak, pies, cigarette, stout, peanut, and even egg fried sunny side up. if the victim so desire. Hmm. Only alcohol and woman are not offered. The whole objective of this feeding routine is to let the victim have the best food in abundance and eat it, stuff himself, knowing that when the 7 days are up, he will hang and leave all such goodies behind in the land of the living. Priests, reverends of every domination are available and the victim requests. High-ranking elders who would never care about the prisoner predicament and who have no intention of doing anything to save his life, drop all other business and hasten to the condemned man to save his soul. If the victim desire, he can be baptized. They make daily visit to the victim, and when they hang him, the priest will be there to say the final prayer. Afterward, before they dump the body in the 3-story grave, he will attend to the ashes to ashes and dust to dust, like a vulture waiting the advent of death. For the 7 days, the victim is exposed to the sound of the gallows being tested each morning over that period. The funk and his orderlies arrive to put his pet machine through its notion. The mind-blowing sound of it working reverberate through the entire prison for 7 days. Even on that final morning, this goes on right next door to the condemned cell, keeping the victim in constant torture. Whatever this machine is not being tested, erase silence, cover the building, and spill over to the con in the yard. The feeling of death is in the air, and only the goon are happy, some of them. Visits are allowed to condemn prisoners, but visitors are brought right to the door of the cell. Few family or other visit condemned prisoners, and those who visit once really repeat the traumatic ordeal it is. More tears have been shed at these cells and inside those cells than at the foot of the cross. After 6 days of this concentrated torture, the vulture gather in final preparation for the sacrifice. At dusk, the executioner arrived at the prison. That night he sleep in the prison so that no unforeseen circumstances might delay his arrival for the job next morning. As the night rub out the final vestige of the day, the condemned man acknowledged the coming of the end and the tension in the whole prison moved toward its peak. When the final morning, that last day on earth arrived, most victims are by then vegetable. The concentrated torture and fear of finally of death reduce them to hunk of flesh, blood and bone without any other distinction. They have been broken, crushed, murdered even before they are killed. Execution are scheduled for 8:30 in the morning. On such morning, all prisoners remain under lock till after the killing. At this point, the tension in the prison is at its zenith. So until the bloody task had been done, the prison is locked down. The prison medical officer, the superintendent, a senior police officer from the era, the person and other the person and other official, vulture, all prepare for this execution. The greatest fear of prisoner on death row is that at this point of the proceeding, he will be beaten to death by the goon before they put him on the gallows. Prisoners work over at the gallows during execution. These prisoners take the dead men from the rope, clean them, put them in the coffin, and bury them. These prisoners, sometimes with tears in their eyes, often relate to us how Glenford Pusey, Juna Tefler, and others were almost beaten to death before they were hung. Oh, Eddie Fraser, head was pulled right off his body. Everybody on the road knew this story and equally feared such an experience. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I spoke about Danny Fraser and I spoke about Eddie Fraser. Yeah, yeah. A long time ago, in one of my earlier chronics, I told you that Claudius Massop is who testify against Eddie Fraser. Yeah, I will revisit that at some point. I also let you know that I rap with Dillinger every day of his last day. Yeah, because he was someone that I know like that. The death squad move in first and attend to the condemned prisoner. They return him, then his clothes and all other personal effects taken from him when he entered prison. After he's dressed, the goons strap on the leather stiff jacket and he's escorted to the gallows. Then the official vulture file into the stand around the gallows. The priest said the last prayer. The sacrifice to be speak his last word. Then the funk give the hangman the okay. Once the executioner pull the lever, the victim is supposed to die instantly. Not always. Sometimes, as in the case of Eddie Fraser, the head is jerked right from the body. At other times, the victim continues to struggle for minutes until he finally suffocates in his own blood. When this thrashing ceases, the medical officer crawled down into the hole below the gallows with his stethoscope to certify that the sacrifice is killed before he make out the death certificate. As soon as the killing is over, the bell is rung. The black flag is housed above the prison on a notice placed on the outside of the gate. A coroner inquest is immediately held in the prison. After a lot of bureaucratic crap, the coroner somehow arrived at the verdict that nobody is criminally responsible for the death of the sacrifice. During the lunch break, the coffin bearing the body is hauled onto a cart to the rear of the prison and dumped in the 3-story grave. They call this justice. Be warned, you hypocrite. There is blood on your hands. Yeah! Eddie Fraser, I was there when he hung. I was a juvenile then at NCB. Eddie Fraser, I know him on the street as a youth growing up. Yeah, Eddie Fraser and Danny Fraser. Yeah. Yes.